Ring out, bells of Norwich, and let the winter come and go. All shall be well again, I know. The tune Bells of Norwich was written by Sidney Carter and is based on the life of Julian of Norwich, a 14th century Catholic contemplative who lived in England during the time of the plague. She is well known for having written the expression, "All will be well, and all will be well, and all manner of thing will be well." I participate in a Sacred Circle dance group here in Portsmouth, and every winter, from solstice to the spring equinox, we do a dance to this tune, the Bells of Norwich. The dance acknowledges the winter, but also anticipates its passing. As the song says, the bells of Norwich ring for the yellow daffodil, the flower in the snow. In pre-COVID times, the group did this dance in a circle, holding hands. We started by slip-stepping, like skipping to the right, and then the same skipping step to the left. We repeated that a few times and then faced center, towards each other. It would be the time in the dance when we rang the bells of Norwich, raising our joined hands high and rocking back and forth, in and out of the circle, those around us helping us to keep our balance. Next, we each became a bell, holding one hand to our hearts and the other arm overhead, turning around on our own. Finally came a step to the side and a quick bow to the center of the circle to honor those we were dancing with. Note how the dance is done in a circle, holding hands in a circle, walking together to the right and to the left, facing center and collectively ringing the bells, turning individually, returning to face center to bow to one another. From prehistoric times, human life has taken shape around a circle, gathering around the fire for warmth, for cooking, for protection. The ancient Greeks took part in a variety of practices in a circle or semicircular pattern. Their word for dance, choreo, embraced many activities: choreography, chorus, choral reading, and included dancing, speaking, singing, and drumming in a circle or semicircle. In modern times, we gather around many circles: the circle of family around the holiday table, a meeting of colleagues around a conference table, the circle of yoga practitioners in a studio, or the circle of bases run in a ball game. And yes, the dance circle. Our Sacred Circle group continues to dance on Zoom. But during the COVID pandemic, I have missed this circle of gathering in person. While many of our activities, exercise classes, social events, game nights, have continued online, they have lost the characteristic shape of the circle, which is essential to humans getting together in groups. But as Amy Antonucci, who leads Sacred Circle Dance, says, even though the practice of dance is imperfect on Zoom, it is better to continue to gather than not to gather at all. During COVID, we have reimagined the dance, reimagined all the many ways to gather. These new ways do not replicate getting together in person, but they retain many of the essential elements of being together, seeing each other's faces, sharing joys and sorrows, dancing or playing games, even if it's in Hollywood Squares style boxes. What is missing is facing one another in the circle, holding hands, slipping one arm around the waist of another, feeling the gentle pull and grounding of the dancers on either side of us when we dance the Bells of Norwich. Loud are the bells of Norwich, and the people come and go. Here by the Tower of Julian, I tell them what I know. Who was Julian of Norwich? Who was the woman for whom this song was written? Julian of Norwich was born in 1342 in the walled English city of Norwich, a textile and shipping center on the eastern coast. Her full name is unknown. In fact, it's unknown if she was named Julian at birth, or if she took or was given the name later in life. She died around 1416, living to be at least 74 years old. Very little else is known for certain about her personal life. She is known, though, to be the first woman to write a book in English, a book of her revelations during a serious illness. From her writings, it's known that Julian of Norwich became gravely ill at around the age of 30. She survived her illness and later in life went on to write about the experience and the visions she had during this time. At some time, she took up solitary residence in the walls of a church in Norwich. She was what is termed an Anchorite. That is, she lived in a room or rooms bumped out from the stone walls of the church. She was called an Anchorite because her rooms were anchored to the walls of the church. The common image of an Anchorite is someone who lives entirely alone. But this was not exactly true in Julian's case. She may have had help tending her small home. The city folk visited her, at least from outside her window. They spoke with her. The 14th century was a time of great upheaval in England. The 100 Years' War raged with France, and Norwich was under fear of attack. There were peasant revolts. Punishments for peasants and heretics were severe. And it was a time of plague. It was during these times that Julian of Norwich wrote her now famous expression, "All will be well, and all will be well, and all manner of thing will be well." This was not trite or unimaginative advice, it seems to me, given the times Julian lived in. To me, this saying suggests that in the face of so much suffering, so much death, so much strife, there is a place to arrive at, a place of the soul where all can be well, at the very least in some small but significant way. The saying evokes that still, small voice within. The very still, very small voice we can access, even in the midst of great hardship and loss. That there is something that holds us and buoys us up through all weather. All will be well, and all will be well. The history of the much more recent pandemic of 1918 tells us a lot about pandemics in general. If we are wise, we take lessons from the 1918 pandemic. Simple lessons of hygiene, for example, mask wearing, hand washing, social distancing, flattening the curve. The lesson of the 1918 pandemic I am thinking about a lot these days is that it eventually came to an end. That is a hopeful thing. Hard for us to imagine, perhaps, but true, and we hope predictive. With the advent of a vaccine and continued vigilance to curb the spread of infection, we can begin to imagine the COVID-19 pandemic drawing to a close. It won't be all at once. It will not be a one-time thing. But we have reached a time in the pandemic when we can just begin to imagine gathering in person again. Returning to those circles of connection that are at the heart of human connectedness. The circle of small group ministry, the learning circles of children and youth, and yes, the circle of dance. During the pandemic, we have used our imaginations to gather and socialize and exercise and work and learn in new and imperfect ways. Perhaps now, in the spirit of Julian of Norwich's All Will Be Well, we can begin to imagine what it will be like to be together again. How will that come about? Some things will come back as we knew them. Some things will change. Some things may never return. What do you imagine for yourself, for your family and friends, for our country and for our world? As the days become longer and the low arc of the sun in the sky begins to rise, we can begin to imagine, as the Bells of Norwich song says, that love, like the yellow daffodil, is coming through the snow. That we will once again join in circles, hand in hand, arm in arm, and in that closest of human circles, the embrace of a hug. May it be so.